You're welcome in our show. We can fly to and fro. We'll have fun unless you plan on leaving us.
What did any of that mean?
Click to find out.
Do box odds! Well, folks, I say it's high time I evade my indie cartoon comfort zone and review something a little different. Time to step away from Vivzy-Pop's demons who should gargle soap and see what else lies in the worldwide blue yonder. In this case, a new collaboration between Gooseworx and Glitch Studios. Now, I have little to no experience with either of these creators. I know that Gooseworx helped to compose the score for Hazbin Hotel, and she designed the sidemen in RoboFizz's Lulu Band, which somehow look both terrifying, yet also sad and pitiable. It's like if your night terrors were worn down by the daily 9 to 5. Like, dude, I want to scream in horror or whatever, but I also want to give you some paid leave, jeez. And aside from their checkered past with Gmodio, I have no prior knowledge of Glitch or any of the properties connected to it. I heard they made a series where drones murder each other. That might be fun. But in some ways, that's actually a good thing, since it means I have no high expectations for this glitchy gaggle to live up to. I'm going into this project completely fresh. And I gotta admit, their promos made a great first impression on me, with 3D animation smooth as butter, a gritty sadistic sense of humor, and a twinge of analog horror in the premise to add some mystery spice to the mixture. Well, we've let this goose cook for a while, but did it all work out in the end? Let's find out. To truly explain the impact that the Amazing Digital Circus had on me, allow me to share with you some of the first thoughts I had while watching.
This thing is an existential nightmare of Bethesda-coded pastel geometrics and inescapable external and internal dread that wants you to suffer. And we're not even a minute in.
Yeah, unlike your typical innocent-seeming property where they lure you into a false sense of security while slowly hinting that something is off, Digital Circus just lays its full hand on the table immediately. It's obvious right off the bat that this is a corrupted, terrifying, mental prison of a scenario loaded with unanswered questions, paranoid characters, and glitch-ridden programming, with all the bells and whistles that you would expect. And while you could argue that they lay the paranoia on a little too thick at times, it's done with so much variety, polish, love, and care that I honestly didn't mind. What you see is what you get. They jump right into the madness without a single toe on the brakes, and I honestly respect it for that. But is this some kind of quantity over quality scenario? Are they just throwing stuff out to see what sticks? Not at all. There is some legit well thought out horror in this pilot. Things can get downright unsettling at times, with these amorphous blobs of eyes and darkness that smash up the carnival, characters slowly going insane in front of our eyes, and some glimpses into the real world reminding us of the gravity of the situation. I mean, just imagine the existential terror and freakish out-of-body experiences these poor souls must be having. They were seemingly ripped from their reality and shoved into this Y2K edutainment horror house with no confirmed way out. And they do everything to make you realize just how terrifying such a concept could be. I mean, these freaking games are uncanny enough as it is, but imagine being physically stuck in one for all eternity. Doing little funtivities in a futile effort to maintain your sanity. Leaving you alone with your thoughts to ponder what the point of it all is. Is life just a series of distractions used to keep you occupied before your inevitable demise? And does said enlightenment only lead to a steadily worsening mental state that merely brings that fate along faster? Should we accept this reality or
Fight against it.
does fighting improve strength or just show weakness? Is fate itself determined by choice or pre-programmed like a video game?
The more you think about it, the less you want to think about it.
But hey, no need to get all your Debbies in a downer right away. This is a circus after all, a place of whimsy and enjoyment. And luckily this show is able to use the same creepy computer corruption elements for comedy as well as horror, showing some real duality in the show's design. Ergo, things can get pretty dang funny at times. We've got characters Gmodding around with ragdoll physics and animation, sometimes even using the same sound effects from the game. Caine's eyes end up in a random blue screen of death as Pomni just randomly floats there awkwardly, and even scenes that are meant to be horrifying have a little levity placed in. Like when Ragatha starts glitching out and her eyes turn into a game of Pong for a second. It's small enough that it doesn't take away the seriousness of the situation, but it still gives you a little laugh, and I appreciate that. Heck, even if you take the computer elements away, the rest of the gags are just as solid, with some fantastic 3D slapstick like Zooble choking out Jax over here, and oodles of hilarious character interactions. Seriously, I would pay to watch a full episode of just Caine and Bubble interacting. Having this little wildcard weirdo as a sidekick cannot be good for anyone's mental health. Thank God that getting rid of him is just a gentle poke away, or I'm sure Caine would have lost his patience and sanity years ago. You know, more than he already has. While it's obvious that this world has terror bleeding from its very code with scares aplenty, I appreciate that they can squeeze some fitting humor in there so it's not just a 24/7 mascot horror fest or anything. God knows we already have enough of those. Speaking of mascots, who's going on this thrill ride with us?
Because I don't want to die alone here.
Well, Pomni, or is obviously our audience self-insert for the evening. She's the latest addition to this nut house, and all throughout the episode she reacts as anyone would. Fear, denial, panic, and, well, more fear.
Here we are in fear, and it's
And through her, we get to witness all the wacky workings of this world as well as the people in it. As a result, we don't really get to see much of her actual personality, just her mind slowly breaking as she adjusts to this crazy place. Which I will admit, Lizzie Freeman sells incredibly well in her performance. But we do get hints at some possible character development she might go through now that everything is established. Like when Ragatha gets a serious case of pixlexia, and she tells Pomni to go find Caine to restore her. But in the end, Pomni goes for an easy out by dashing through an exit door, fueled by fear and a little bit of selfishness. When that inevitably fails and Caine brings both girls back to status quo, Pomni's forced to face the fact that she just let the most welcoming and hospitable of all these folks who are forced to be in the same situation as her, mind you, unjustly suffer for longer than she would have if Pomni just stuck to finding Caine. Even if she never found him, the truth is that she still made a selfish move without taking Raggy's well-being into consideration at all. And then we get this cold, silent few seconds of the two characters standing at odds, with Ragatha physically healed yet emotionally hurt, and Pomni obviously feeling guilty for what she did. This is probably the best pure character moment in the whole episode, giving Pomni some time to really let what she's done sink in. She's obviously not a bad girl. She did go back for Raggy the first time in spite of her glitchy affliction, but when presented with a chance to save herself and only herself, she delayed the chance to get Raggy some help and possibly even left her for dead in favor of saving her own hide. And she does deserve to be kinda shunned for that. She needs to understand that she's not the only one suffering here. These five don't want to be here any more than she does. And hopefully a life lesson has been learned here, like in most edutainment games, where she'll take the well-being and safety of her new friends into account moving forward, while keeping one eye open for any abnormalities that might hint at an escape. She's got some decent potential so far, despite being a screaming mess for most of the runtime. Also, her design is adorable. I can see why they want to sell plushies of her. Ragatha is easily my favorite character so far. She's got a warm, huggable voice and demeanor that perfectly matches her ragdoll design. She's easily the most accommodating of all the circus members, and tries to soften the blow of Pomni possibly being there forever as much as she can, telling the others to not be so mean, and laying on the truth with as much sugar as possible, even with her own obvious fears and problems to deal with. Heck, when she is glitching at death's door, she never panics or screams or anything. She just calmly tells Pomni to go get Caine to fix her up. Everything is gonna be fine. It reminds me a lot of a mother who gets gravely injured and calmly tells her kid that there's no need to panic, the doctor will come and fix me right up. I think that's the best way to describe Ragatha. She's like the morally centered mother of the group, which explains why I took a liking to her so quickly, since I adore those types of characters. She even apologizes that Pomni's day went badly while she's sitting there in raggedy agony. I love her. I really hope the two of them make up in the next episode, and maybe Pomni starts turning to her for emotional support. I can see the two of them becoming great friends when there's not a glitchy amalgamation of eyes hulking around their home. Jax is a very appropriate name for this guy, since he's basically two Jax in one. He's a Jackrabbit and a Jack. Anyway, this dude reminds me a lot of Angel Dust from Hazbin Hotel, a guy who uses his current accommodations and the people around him as tools to be as big of a jerk as possible. He knows he's gonna be stuck there forever. He knows these jokers can easily be restored if he does anything to them. He knows he's not gonna be punished or kicked out for what he's doing, so you know what? Might as well get his jollies off by screwing around with them for fun. Heck, him and Angel even share the exact same voice actor, Michael Korvac. And it's nice to know that he's getting work as a similar character type in this show, since we know that he sadly won't be coming back for Hazbin. But unlike Angel, who had that one subtle reach out towards Charlie, I didn't sense any semblance of tender humanity from Jax that could be built off of just yet. We saw fear, we saw anger, we saw tons of sarcasm, but there was no moment of, oh, maybe there's some good in him after all, like we saw with our Spider-Boy. Ah well, for what it's worth, he is still hilarious. It's nice to see a character that seemingly prefers to be in this warped reality, and his jerkishness came off more as charming than unbearable, so I'm down to see more of his antics down the line. Kinger is just a paranoid mess, and apparently the character that's been in this place the longest. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I love the choice to make his character a chess piece king, since we all know that if the king is downed in a game of chess, it's checkmate. Hence the player would be super anxious to make sure that one piece is protected. I also gotta wonder if there's some truth to the weird things this guy says. We know his mental state is a little questionable, but some of the things he brings up makes me wonder if he's talking crazy, or if he's just recalling a past experience that he's had in this place. Like when he asks Zooble if she saw a game show while inside of the monster's gut. I want to say that's just blathering nonsense, but knowing this place, it could also not be. Maybe when you experience a game show, it's like purgatory right before you die in the game? And maybe if you lose the show, you disappear for good or something? I honestly have no idea. Aside from some mysterious utterings and a perfectly cut scream, there's not too much I can say about Kinger. He's pretty cool for what he is, I guess. Gangle needs a hug and a full tube of Gorilla Glue right now. If someone doesn't fix that comedy mask, I will buy a copy of that non-existent game just so I can do it myself. Seriously, Gangle is just the definitive must-protect character of the cast. Always so shy and on the verge of tears, and you just want to squeeze her like a frickin' tube of toothpaste and tell her that everything's gonna be okay. I'd probably make some seemingly witty comment about how some people mask tragedy with comedy and use it as a coping mechanism to deal with the eternal sadness that plagues them on a daily basis. But I'm too busy brainstorming ways to make a Gangle plushie a reality. I don't care if it's physically impossible, I need one, dang it. Zooble is basically relegated to a glorified fetch quest in this episode, so she had the least to do, but I did at least find her blasé, done with everyone's garbage personality, fun enough to get a few laughs out of me. Plus her deciding to just flip everybody off is probably the funniest visual gag in this episode by far. And then there's Caine. I was almost certain that this guy was going to be some kind of antagonist at first, like an evil puppeteer pulling the strings, trying to keep everyone in clowny confinement as much as possible, but instead this guy just comes off as 20 pounds of nerves in a 2-pound bag. I mean, he's extremely expressive and hilarious, don't get me wrong. I love his binocular Bill Cipher antics whenever he's on screen, but the dude just has all these nervous tics and traits, constantly shooting down Pomni's legitimate questions, having the most breakdowns and mood changes of any character, and despite saying that he has control over everything in the circus, there are times when he doesn't feel in control at all. Honestly, I want to know what's got him so freaked out. What exactly does he know that nobody else is privy to? He mentions that going into the void would lead to someone getting totally spoiled. Does he mean spoiled like their mind would be blown from experiencing infinity and their body would decay into nothing? Spoiled as in he's creating something out there that he doesn't want them to see yet? Or spoiled as in they discover some horrific truth that he's aware of and nobody else is? Did he actually build that weird exit map as he claims? Or is he just trying to cover up something that he doesn't want the others to dig into yet? Well, I guess we'll have to leave that up to the internet and its esteemed base of theorists. And trust me, Caine's not the only thing those folks are going to be pondering about. Yup, in addition to excellent visuals and characters, this show has got theory bait out the wazoo, with an entire world that was basically custom designed to be examined in a more detailed way. Questions upon questions are laid out on the table like food that gives people the sensation of eating without any of the nutritional benefits. His words, not mine. And I've got plenty to ask myself. Like, what the heck was that Stanley Parable-esque sequence of exits that Pomni was running through near the end? When it pans out, it almost looks like some kind of source engine game map or something. So was this meant to be a programmed-in sequence of clues to help the trapped people find their way out? She stops when she gets to this decrepit lone computer in the corner with a VR headset next door, which is the same computer we see at the end of the episode. Was this the computer that brought Pomni to the game? What was she doing in this office in the first place? Does this computer belong to the game developer? Did he wind up in the game somehow, and at some point Pomni's gonna meet him, Ready Player One style? Is Caine perhaps the developer who knows the game inside and out and is trying to protect his peeps from the further harm of what he created? Did he specifically create a model of his own reality to remind him of the world he used to live in, keeping himself from abstracting and possibly leaving the others without a protector? Would putting on the headset within the game bring you back out of the game, or just throw you into Inception? What are these weird wooden mannequins that we see everywhere? Are they placeholder NPCs soon to be replaced with actual living, breathing people? I mean, we see one on the door, and we know that door is only for guests.
Is this all some kind of deranged take on the metaverse? Where a poor, starving developer was forced to create an engine that sucks people out of their normal lives, creating in-game characters with true realism without needing to develop AI, all in an effort to just cut down on coding costs? Does humanity mean that little to this company? Did they force the developer to enter his own game when he refused to play by their corporate rules any longer, seeing many of his co-workers be brainwashed and trapped in an endless world of goofiness and giggles, leaving the game unfinished but the evidence of their cruel intentions buried without anyone willing to testify against them? Is this whole show a commentary on the dangers of escapism and how leaving our world to go into another will only lead to more problems and mental trauma in the long run? And how companies will exploit the most unstable and personal parts of us, merely seeing us as numbers on a chart without humanity and using our desires to leave our own sad existence against us? Cutting out the middleman and instead of abusing our personal information, just straight up abusing our persons in general?
Why do I taste purple?
So yeah, the Amazing Digital Circus, super solid watch. The animation, designs, and style are all tops, the characters are adorable, the comedy's hilarious, the world is unique, and the mysteries are intriguing. This is one existential nightmare that'll definitely leave a few scars, but I'm not sure if I want to wake up from it just yet. It's pretty dope. I'm honestly kind of sad that I never checked out these creators' catalogs beforehand, because this is a big top magnum opus in the making right here, and I will absolutely be keeping tabs on this series. But until more eps emerge, let's hear what you guys think. What are your thoughts on the Amazing Digital Circus? And are there any other indie animated shows that you'd like to hear my takes on? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And to close things off, I'd like to give a first ever shout out to my brand new Patreons, including Supercharged CEO of 9volt, Hunter Matzer, Jeffrey Ritter, Anonymous Anominy, Tigerfire20, Sarah Collins, Michael Wallace, Ian Pendleton, Kelly Dalton, JYoshi64, and Angel of Speed. Check out the link below if you want to join in on supporting the channel as well. But for now, thanks for tuning in everybody, and I hope to see you all real soon.